Tobie, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to do this interview with me. I get so many questions from clients wanting to jump into doing Airbnb and they don't know where to start, how to do it. And you know what? I knew that you were the perfect person. So thank you for taking time to do this interview with me.
Oh my gosh. Well, Elena, thank you so much. This is something that I'm super passionate about. So I love talking about it. I love answering questions, all that good stuff. And I'm just happy to be here. I was super excited when you approached me about it. I'm super excited today to share, how, why, things that I've learned along the way, because this has definitely been, I know loans, I do mortgages, but this has been a self-taught, I guess side hustle, if you want to call it that. So yeah.
And I remember because we've been working together for I don't know how many years, 15 maybe. But
At least 7.
I remember when it was just a vision.
Yep.
Remember when it was just a goal. But now you've just completed 1 year
Yep.
with your Airbnb,
Mm-hmm.
lots of experiences,
Yep.
lots of learning curves.
Yep.
So we're gonna dive in. Let's talk about them.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, I'll let you shoot. We can run with some questions and then, and I'll add in as we go and make it fun.
Awesome. I have a list of questions here.
Yay. All right.
Okay. So I want to know what motivated you to start an Airbnb and how did you choose that property?
Cool. So I think what motivated me the most was, obviously you and I know each other. You're a realtor, I'm a lender in that capacity, and I love doing loans. But I was really looking towards something down the line, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that would provide some passive income and also allow me to create a legacy for my children. I already love doing loans. I think investing in homes, whether it's your primary, a secondary, an investment property, I think that is the very, very best thing that you could do. So it only really made sense for me to really dive into this. And interesting enough, I saw somebody on, I think it was Instagram, reading this book, Short-Term Rental, Long-Term Wealth. It's by Avery Carl. Super, super, super thin, right? Super easy read. I read that book and I was just like, okay, this is it, right? This makes sense to me. And that's kind of where the journey began was, the why, family legacy, passive income. And the book just really inspired it and made me know that this was the route to go.
Right. And your inspiration came when you were reading the book. Did it just motivate you even more to want to
Yeah,
dive
absolutely.
in?
Yep, it really, really did. I mean, this book broke down how to analyze, how to buy, and how to manage. Because one of the things that I always get asked is, do you self-manage? And yes, the answer is my husband and I self-manage this property. And as we grow our little Airbnb business into multiple properties, then we will continue to self-manage that.
I love that. So let's get into how did you choose your first property? I know that it's not here in California, it's
Mhm.
in Tennessee.
Yep.
Why Tennessee? And how did you choose it? Why
Yeah,
did you choose Tennessee?
absolutely. I did a lot of research in the areas and, obviously it would be super nice to have an Airbnb close by. But the reality of it is it's kind of tough to buy an investment property with minimal down in California with our property tax rates, where the interest rates were, and the prices. So we started to explore other states, and also one of the things that the book talks about is making sure it's somewhere that you love to vacation, right? And we have always, we've been to Pigeon Forge, which is where my Airbnb is at, many, many, many times over. We love it there. We understand why other people love it there. And so that's kind of where we started. We thought we started with something that we loved. And then I really dug into areas, because I think, you know, there were a few boxes that needed to be checked for me. It needed to have a certain number of bedrooms so that I could sleep a certain number of people, in, you know, close to, the attractions and stuff that draw people to that particular area. So those were all things that I considered going into it. And, there's a really cool website, called, AirDNA. And in AirDNA, you can put in a property address and it'll tell you like what the occupancy rate is, different things like that, like how much money you could potentially make from that property. And short-term rental, long-term wealth really showed me how to analyze that to make sure that we were getting into a property that would perform. One of my personal standards is I always want to be in a market where it's pretty much a year-round market. So what does a year-round market look like? Well, there in Pigeon Forge, 10 months out of 12, there are things going on and attractions open. January and February is super, super slow. It's cold there. The shows shut down, Dollywood shuts down, those type of things. So you have to know all that because it goes into analyzing and planning for that property. 10 out of 12 months is pretty cool because basically you've got spring break, then summer, and then fall comes in. And because it's in the Smoky Mountains, everybody goes there to watch the leaves change and all of those different things. Another place that I would consider or am considering for my next purchase, which will be April of 2025, I wanted to get a full year of data under my belt and know-how before we add our next one on. But we're either looking at Orlando because that's a year-round destination,
Right.
or Branson, Missouri. So those are on my next hit list.
I love it. It sounds like you did a lot of investigating, you actually took the time to dig in and get data to help you guys make that decision. That's
Yep.
definitely important. And that's a very smart to pick an area that is year round.
Yep. And we have a lot of those areas throughout the United States. The other thing too, you want to make sure of is to be in an area where VRBO, Airbnb, vacation rentals are a thing. If you get into the areas where it's a newer, oncoming thing, there could be restrictions and changes that are happening that could affect that. Like Nashville, was a tough place. Like it kind of blew up with Airbnbs, but then they put a lot of restrictions in place, which makes it a little bit harder now. So that's something too that you want to take into consideration is what kind of restrictions that are in place in the area that you're looking for.
Right. Got it. Okay. What were the biggest challenges you faced during your first year as an Airbnb host?
Just maybe the learning curve. So when we bought our house, one of the things that I told myself, okay, we're not going to do this again, is buy a house during football season, which we did. My boys are full into football. So we were literally, running back and forth 3,000 miles across the United States for a very short window of time and literally just hustling to get it all together. I didn't think that through, which is why the next one is the spring because we're not playing football. We've had awesome guests. The one thing that I would say is, if something comes up, just make it right as quickly as you can. There's this yellow book back here in my little basket. It's called Unreasonable Hospitality, right? So just if a guest complains about something, just make it right super quick. And if you do that, we're super host already. We were super within a very short period of time. And honestly, I think we have a 4.9. The reason we don't have a 5.0 was I got a 4 on communication instead of 5 because I didn't speak another language. So, and that's not really something I can control.
Right.
Well, I guess I could, but I couldn't. So that would be, something that's out of my control, honestly.
So do you just have it on Airbnb or are you allowed to have it on other like VRBO and other?
Yep, so we have it on Airbnb, we have it on VRBO, and then I'm working on getting it up on booking.com.
Okay.
Yep, so we'll have it on 3, and then as I get more familiar with it, then a lot of people do direct websites. I think with one property, that's probably overkill, but once I get multiple properties, then a direct website may be a way that I go. That's kind of something on the down the line list.
I've actually have seen hosts hire a photographer, do a video,
Mhm.
and then they post it on social media, like a sponsored ad on social media.
Yep.
Was one that I found out in Joshua Tree. I'm like, oh, I want to go. Like
I think
I
I saw
didn't
that
want to go
same
to
one.
Joshua Tree for anything, but because I saw that, I'm like, I want to go to Joshua Tree.
I know. I think I probably know which one you're talking about. And I think I saw this exact same one. It looked super cool.
Yeah, I'm like, I want to go.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Okay, awesome. Okay, how did you go about setting up and furnishing the property to make it appealing to guests?
Well, so that was really probably, if I had to say one thing that was the toughest thing, it would be that. You know, if you think about living in a primary residence, I mean, you furnish and decorate it over years, right? With the Airbnb, we literally had to furnish it within a matter of weeks. So there were a lot of decisions to be made, and I definitely experienced a lot of decision fatigue as we were going through that process. You know, it's beds, and one of the big things is you want really comfortable beds. What kind of beds? What kind of frames? You know, how are we decorating the master bedroom? What the theme is? What kind of decorations do we have? Um,
And I
and
would imagine you have to be out there
yeah,
to
I mean,
to
yeah, there was a lot of things that I could do, like I ordered on Amazon that were, that I knew that would work. But then part of it too was just getting there, right? And putting it all together, making sure it works, making sure it looked good together. And I think, I told my husband Jay, I said, the next one we buy, I want it to be already furnished, like maybe an operating Airbnb already. But I will tell you, one of the downside things is we looked at a lot of Airbnbs. We picked this one because it was a newer home, and it wasn't already operating as an Airbnb, so we could put our special touches on it. And sometimes some of the things that I saw in the Airbnbs that we looked at, which were a real turnoff to me, was like, just, it looked like secondhand, like, okay, well, we got a new couch in the primary, so we're gonna put this old couch in the, people don't want that. I know
yeah,
personally, if I'm looking at an Airbnb, I'm looking for crisp, clean, fresh, somewhat up to date type of styling. It's all about how that Airbnb makes you feel.
that's right.
Now, into each his own. The secondhand stuff just didn't work for me. I want it to be, I want it to look cohesive.
Yeah, I like that. I love that.
Yeah.
What marketing strategies have you found most effective in attracting your bookings?
So from a marketing standpoint, I haven't done a ton of stuff on Facebook, social media. I do plan to do that. I've mostly just worked through, the Airbnb and VRBO platforms. And I will tell you, I watch the analytics quite a bit. I dedicate about 1 hour a week to my, you know, short-term rental business. And I'm looking at different things like how many people are clicking but not booking, what that conversion rate looks like. And then I make tweaks based off of that. Like one of the things that I did recently was I lowered the cleaning fee, and then I gave an early bird discount, a last minute discount, and then like a week-long discount. So discounts from a marketing standpoint really helped. And that picked up the volume, right away. A lot of times, it's not just a set it and forget it, type of business, but it's not a super labor intensive business either. It's just something you have to watch. And the best thing that I can tell you is that we, look at it from like, okay, what would we like type of
Yeah.
thing. right? So that's kind of the
Now,
best
do
way to go
you
about it.
have people there in Tennessee? Do you have one specific like cleaning company
Yep.
that comes through? Is it just one specific or like one
Just
property manager? What does that look like?
so for us, since we self-manage, we don't use a property manager. We have our cleaning guy in place, so we have a system that communicates. So whenever we get a reservation, it talks to his system, so he knows all our check-ins, check-outs. He makes sure he gets everything turned and ready. He also takes care of our lawn for us. And then I have, the contacts, like if there's, like if we need a handyman or something like that, then we have that person ready and on standby that we know, that we've talked to, that type of thing.
And this system that communicates, is that through through Airbnb, or is this a separate system?
So since I have it on multiple sites, you need a channel manager so that you don't get like a booking on Airbnb for the same time you have one on VRBO. So it's called a channel manager. So what it does is it communicates and syncs all three of those. And then it syncs with our cleaners software as well. Now, let's say that I just wanted to have it on Airbnb, then my Airbnb platform would sync with the cleaner's website and just tell him check-ins, check-outs just for Airbnb.
Got it, got it. And what type of expense, how does that fit in with your expenses? What type of expenses should somebody consider or expect? Because you get in
Mhm.
what you get in
Yeah,
per day or per month, but
yeah,
then there's expenses involved as well.
yep.
So what type of expenses should somebody expect?
Well, so the easiest ones are like, the mortgage and utilities, right? So you just know you're gonna have those. Some things you might not expect is you have to work in your cleaning fees, which that's part of what you collect. But there's also like, pest control, cable, which I guess you could consider that utilities. Channel management, like I think for the system that we use, it was $300 for the year. A pricing tool that monitors all the Airbnbs around you and keeps you priced up to date on that. Those are some of the expenses. And then lawn care, right? If you have a lawn that you have to care for, gutter cleanings, different things like that, just like you would have at your primary residence.
Got it, got it. And so I'm assuming that the cleaning person takes care of like the linens and the towels and all that.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. And then, if something gets damaged, we can ship straight from Amazon to his house, and then he takes it in, gets it replaced, that type of thing.
Awesome.
Yep.
Can you share a story about a particular difficult guest or experience and how you handled it?
Yes, I can. So we had a longer term guest staying for, I think it was just shy, it was about 3 weeks. They were in transition, and every single day it was something else. And our house is a newer house, so it was things like the water's not hot enough. I can't get, the Wi-Fi is out. There's this, and a lot of it was stuff where it was just really like, uh, the water part of it, it's set to a specific thing, but they just wanted the water hotter, right? And so it becomes a game of just keeping the client happy.
Right.
And some of them are super, super picky. And so I just go back to that unreasonable hospitality thing. And the hot water thing, though, I wasn't real, I didn't want it changed, because what I could see happening was if I told them where to change it at, then they would go in there, turn it high, forget to turn it back when they left, and I might not have remembered that either. And then my next guest would end up getting burnt because the water was too hot. So I just kindly, anything that I can do and say yes to, I say yes. That was something I couldn't say yes to. So on that, I just picked up the phone and made the phone call and said, hey, look, I understand, but we have the water, it was like at 107 degrees, like that may be wrong, but it was within, like, you could turn it up pretty hot. And she understood what the risk of that were. And so she ended up just agreeing to be like, okay, the water's hot enough. And hey, I love hot showers, but
Oh, yeah.
I would also, being the reasonable person that I am, understand why an owner wouldn't want me fiddling with their hot water thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing that I will tell you that is not like a tough situation, but again, circling back to unreasonable hospitality. If so, our check-in is 4 o'clock every day. If we are in a position to do an early check-in, I always, always, always do an early check-in at no additional cost. And usually what I do is I'm like, hey, I know check-in's not till 4 o'clock, but we just got the alert that the home is ready. If you'd like to check in earlier at no additional charge, please feel free to do so. We've made your code active effective immediately. And we get so many kudos off of that because we're just anticipating, like, maybe they do want to check in early, right? So it works out really, really good.
I love that. I mean, just knowing when we go to hotels, when we're traveling, there's times where we can't get in till 4 or 3 and
Yeah.
you're like,
And it's
so
super,
it does feel nice and
yeah,
it means something.
yeah, absolutely. And they didn't even have to ask for it.
Yeah,
And so that's the whole thing, in my mortgage business, unreasonable hospitality. In my Airbnb business, unreasonable hospitality really goes a really long way.
love it. Love it, Toby. I knew you were the right person to interview. Okay. How have you managed pricing and occupancy to maximize your income?
So we do use a pricing engine, but I consistently take a look at that, right? There's a lot of analytical data I can look at and see what our percentage of occupancy is. Ideally, you want to be at least 50 to 60% occupied. If you're not, then, adjusting that price could be something you want to look at doing. My pricing tool right now does a pretty good, job of that. We use Price Labs. Airbnb and VRBO, they do have some like automatic tools built in, but I have always used Pricing Labs because that's what's been recommended to me. And I frequently do a manual check too. And what I mean by a manual check is I know the houses around me that are for rent, right? So
Yeah.
I'll go into Airbnb or VRBO and I'll look at what they're renting for and see if I'm in a good position or if I need to lower my price, or in some cases, maybe raise my price. They have a lot of special events there in the summer, like in a couple weekends, they're having the Jeep takeover. They have a big Bronco thing that comes in, Rod Run, like there's all these things. And those weekends typically tend to bring in more. So I know that I have to watch that and make sure that we're pricing appropriately.
Okay. Got it. Got it. I love that. Um, what steps have you taken to ensure your property stands out from the competition?
Um, Constant review. I think it's always, kind of changing the pictures around, make sure things are updated, updating the title, just keeping things fresh, right? Also if a client makes a recommendation, I really take it to heart. After our last guest who was just loved the home, he gave us raving reviews. He said, one suggestion I'd like to make is that, the bath mat you have in front of the master shower is really too small. The door swings open and drips water everywhere, and the mat isn't big enough. And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, so true. So what did I do? I go on Amazon. I ordered the bath mats to be sent to my cleaner, and I said, hey, bigger bath mats go in front of the master shower moving forward. Done, fixed. So that's, taking feedback positively and making changes.
I love that. And this information that you're giving us is so valuable. I really hope the audience is enjoying it and really learning a lot from it, because I'm learning a ton from it. It's
Nice. That's our hope.
yeah, so many questions are answered here, so thank you. Okay, and this is the last question. I'll let you get back to mortgage writing after this, but what advice would you give to someone looking to start their own Airbnb today?
Love it. So the first thing is to figure out budget, right? Once you know budget, then you can identify area. So what can you qualify for to purchase a home? Because one of the things to know and understand is either you're going to have to qualify for both payments, or you're going to have 20% down. So knowing which piece of that works is the first place you want to start.
So can I ask you right then and there, from the time that you closed on that home
Mhm.
to the time that you actually got somebody in, like your first host,
Mhm.
what was that time frame?
2 months.
2
So
months.
we closed on August the 2nd, 2023. We brought it online October 2nd, 2023. And we literally had our first guest within 2 hours. In fact, we booked out for all of October within our first 2 hours
Wow.
of being online. The 2 months was just, the time it took to go back and forth between California and Tennessee. And the learning curve, right? If we were seasoned Airbnb investors, we probably could have got it up a little bit quicker, but we didn't, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Learning, right?
Yeah.
I would say if it was ready, it would probably been like 2 weeks to a month before we were able to start bringing in clients, just depending on what needed to be done.
So for the listeners out there, from the time you close, it's going to really depend how quickly you get it up and running.
Yep.
That you can expect to have it.
Yeah. And there are some cases, and this book talks about it, is you may buy one that's already an operating Airbnb, and there may be already bookings in place that come with the property. So in that case, there's no downtime whatsoever. It's just change of ownership.
I love it.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tobie, for sharing these valuable insights and sharing your journey with us. I know that it's been so valuable. I hope the audience has gotten some good information, and I look forward in interviewing you again. Hopefully
Yeah.
we'll get some good questions and we can come back and do round 2.
Yeah, heck yeah. Let me get a couple more properties under my belt. And the one thing I'd love to share is, hey, if you have a great strategy to investing in Airbnbs, everybody has a lot of equity right now. Use your equity to purchase an Airbnb and get it up and running. If you need to strategize on that, you can reach out to Elena, you can reach out to me. But that's exactly what I did. I used the equity on my primary to purchase the home in Tennessee. Now that home has already gained a pretty decent amount of equity. I'm going to use that equity to purchase the next home. So then it just becomes one investment turns into a bunch of investments.
I love it. Yep.
Cool.
Thank you, Tobie. Thank you for your time.
Hey, you're welcome.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye.